Hi, Ashley here with hearthookhome.com, and today we are going to learn how to crochet the feather stitch. This is such a fun squishy texture. All you need to know really is how to make the half double crochet, and you can make this stitch. It's easier than it looks. It's very plush. It is a yarn eater, so this would be a great stash buster project. Let's learn how to crochet the stitch together. To start the feather stitch, you want to start with an odd number of chains. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a foundation row for this stitch. In order to do that, I'm going to find the third chain from my hook, and I'm going to place a half double crochet in that chain. I like to go into the back bar, so I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to place a half double crochet right in that chain. This creates a little space here, and we are going to use this space at the next row. So now we're going to chain one, we're going to skip the next chain, and we're going to place a half double crochet in the next. Chain one, skip the next chain, and place a half double crochet in the next. And we're going to do this all the way across the entire chain. When you get to the end, go into this one. When you get to the end, you should end with a half double crochet in the very last chain. So right here, place that last half double crochet. So now you've got all of these half double crochets that are separated by chain spaces. Now we're ready to actually do the first feather stitch row. In order to do that, we are going to chain one and turn. And I will say that this is the worst part of the whole entire thing. So once you get this down, it's smooth sailing. What we're going to do is we're going to place a half double crochet in that first stitch right here. And we're going to chain one. And now we're ready for the fun part, or the not so fun part, as it were. We're going to pull up a loop in this chain space. Then we're going to pull up a loop in this missed chain down here. See that tiny little loop down there? That's the fun part. And then we're going to pull up a loop in this one as well, in this chain space as well. So yarn over, pull up a loop in this chain space, in that big old chain space. Cool. We've got 3 loops on our hook, so that's cool. Now we're going to yarn over. We're going to go around the chain space and into this chain down here that we skipped from the foundation row. We're going to pull up a loop just like that. Okay, so now we should have 5 loops on our hook. Now we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop in this chain space, in the next chain space. So by the end of this, you should have a total of 7 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and go through all of them, and then we're going to chain one to close the stitch. Now that is a feather stitch. They get easier from here on out, so let's continue. Let's yarn over, pull up a loop in that chain space, yarn over, pull up a loop in that skipped chain way down here. I like to kind of look at it from the opposite side or twist it a little bit so I can see right where I'm going. Pull up that loop, yarn over, go into the next chain space. You've got your 7 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 7. Sometimes it's like a wizard. Chain one. Now we're going to do the same thing with these 2 chain spaces. Yarn over, pull up a loop in the chain space. That's the easy part. Yarn over, pull up a loop in the missed chain from the foundation chain, the one that we skipped. It's a very delicate procedure here. Yarn over, go into the next chain space and pull up a loop. Now that you've got your 7 on your hook again, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 7 and chain one to close that stitch. Pull my yarn a little bit. Now we're going to do this 2 more times. So we're going around the chain space, into the chain from below that we missed, and then into the next chain space right here. Yarn over, pull through all of them, and chain 1 to close that stitch. Now we're going to do it one more time in these last two. This last one is a little bit small, but I've noticed that if you don't do it this way, there's a big gaping hole right here, and I just don't like the way that it looks. So yarn over, pull up a loop here, yarn over, pull up a loop here. Come here, little guy. Right there. And then yarn over and pull up a loop in this last little space right there. You've got your 7, so pull through all of them. Now we are going to chain 1 to close that stitch, but we're also going to place a half double crochet just in the end here. So I'm going to yarn over, make my half double crochet just in that turning chain from the foundation row. So that is our first row of feather stitches. Now from here on out it gets really easy, or maybe a lot easier would be a better way to say it. So the next row is the row that you're going to repeat over and over and over again. So in order to do that, we're going to chain 1 and turn. We're going to place a half double crochet in that very first stitch. And I'm going to chain 1. Now the feathers get easier from here on out. You can see all these holes we've got going on, right? So we're going to pick up a loop, we're going to yarn over, pick up a loop in this chain space, then we're going to yarn over and pick up a loop in this chain space, and then we're going to yarn over and pick up a loop in this chain space. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, over and over and over again. So yarn over, pull up a loop here, yarn over, pull up a loop down here, and then yarn over and pull up a loop in the next chain space. Now we should have our 7 loops again. Yarn over, pull through all of them, and then chain 1 to close the stitch. So we're just going to do the same thing over and over and over again. So yarn over, chain space, yarn over, go down into this chain space from the row below, yarn over, next chain space. Once you've got your 7 loops, you're ready to yarn over and pull through all of them. Chain 1 to close the stitch. We're just going to finish out this row, but this is literally all there is. I have noticed that while I'm crocheting this stitch, if I don't make that second yarn over, the one that goes down into the stitch or the space below, if I don't make that one just a little bit tighter, it does have a tendency to get a little loose and it could become like a snaggable loop. So that's something to think of while you're creating those loops, is to make sure that you're not making them too loosey-goosey, because they will stay loosey-goosey and you don't want that. You don't want your crochet to be snagging on anything. So when we get to the end, we're going to do 1, 2, and then in the last chain space here, we're going to pull up a loop in that one. Once we've got our 7 loops on our hook, pull through all of them, and then we're going to chain 1, and we're just going to place a half double crochet right in the top of that last stitch. And that's it. That's it. Over and over and over again. So every row, you want to make sure that you're doing your half double crochet in the first and do a chain before you start your first feather. Then feather across, make sure you do the chain before you do your final half double crochet in that last stitch. So this is really quite easy, really, once you get the hang of where to place those loops and where to pull up those loops. It's got such a great texture and a great squish factor, and I just hope you love this crochet stitch as much as I do, and I look forward to crocheting more with you soon. Thank you for watching.